Morning, this is Ms. Billerbeck, and we are going to talk about Singapore Math 6, 9.2 inequalities. So an inequality means that something's bigger or littler. So we compare the two numbers. So usually, we always put the bigger number where the inequality opens and the littler number goes to the point. So we would say 5 is greater than 3. 5 is greater than 3. 10 equals 10. So 10 equals 10. And 2 is less than 9. 2 is less than 9. When there are an infinite number of solutions to an inequality, we use algebraic inequalities. So we might write A is less than 4. So A is less than 4. Now A is just representing something like apples. So we have less than 4 apples. So all algebra is we're substituting a letter in for some quantity. A name of something like apples, bananas, cantaloupes, and donuts. All right. So it's not something to stress about. We're just using shorthand for apples, bananas, cantaloupes, and donuts. Okay. So we have less than 4 apples. So we don't have 4 apples. So we can't write an open point. So what we're going to do is we're going to put a fence around 4. It's like putting a fence around a pool. We don't want someone little in the home who can't swim getting to the pool. So they can get right up to the fence, but they can't get in the fence and into the pool. Okay, so we want a fence around 4, so it's an open point. And then we want to put a test point on the line like 0. And we can ask, is 0 less than 4? Yes, that's true. So that's the side we shade. Also, if we put the variable on the left side, then the inequality points the direction that we need to graph. Isn't that interesting? Okay, so if I have b is greater than -2, then I'm going to, there's no equal sign under these, so I'm going to have an open point because it can't equal 2, but it can get very close to 2. And we notice the inequality is pointing that way, so it gives us a good idea we need to shade that way, but we use a test point of 0. Is 0 greater than -2? And that's true, so we do shade this direction. Then we have C is less than or equal to 1. So C is less than or equal to 1. So this little bar underneath is an equal sign. We only use one bar when we're using inequalities. So this means that C can be 1. So we could have 1 cantaloupe, and we might have just pieces of the cantaloupe, which means we might have less than a cantaloupe. But let's say we're not really talking about cantaloupes because we're going to go below 0 here, okay? So, so we start with a solid point at 1 because it can equal 1. And we notice the inequality is pointing that way. We use a test point of 0, which is on that side of 1. And we say, is 0 less than or equal to 1? Yes, it is. So we do graph that direction. This one we have D is greater than or equal to 7. So we have an equal bar there. So that means we have a solid point at 7. The inequality is pointing that direction with the variable on the left. So we are going to probably shade that way, but we need to look at the test point 0. 0 is not that direction, so it shouldn't work. So 0 is not greater than or equal to 7. So that means we shade on the other side of 7. All right, let's take a look at if 8 is a solution to this inequality. All right, so let's draw. I am a visual person, so I like to draw my little graphs. Okay, so we have -10, and -10 on the number line is way over here. Then we have 0, and then we have an 8. Okay, this says x is greater than -10. So what that means, if we're going to graph it, we're going to put it a fence around 10 because it can't equal 10. And then we are going to graph greater than. 0 is greater than -10. That's true. So we're going to graph this direction. Okay, so we see, oh, 8 is part of the solution. So yes, 8 is a solution. All right, so let's try this one. All right, so we have 0, and we have 8, and we have just on the other side of 8 is 8 and 1/3. All right, this says x is less than 8 and 1/3. So that means it's got a fence around 8 and 1/3. And it suggests that it's going this way because the inequality sign, but we should test. Is 0 less than 8 and 1/3? Yes, it is. So we can shade that direction. And though 8 and 1/3 is not part of the solution, 8 is part of the solution. All right, so let's try this one. Now, your teacher will probably want you to do a lot more detail on the number line, but I just want to get the general point out of how to do this. So we have 0 here and 8 here. Okay, we have an inequality that says it's less than 8. Is 0 less than 8? Yes, it is. So we're going to put an open point around 8 to fence it off. It can't be 8, but it is restricted by that point. It can get right up to 8, but it can't be 8. And then it says, is 8 a solution? No, 8 is not a solution. It can't be 8. All right, let's take a look at some more. All right, let's determine if -4 is a solution to these inequalities. All right, and remember, pictures mean more than 1,000 words, so that's why I draw so much. Okay, so we have -4 is -4 is over here, and -4.01 is right on this side. Then we have 0 right here. So we want to determine is -4 a solution. So this is y is greater than -4.01. So we are going to fence off -4.01. Okay, then we're going to ask, is 0 greater than -4.01? It is. So we're going to shade this direction. Okay, and it looks like yes, 4 is a solution. All right, let's take a look at this one. So, oh, yes, -4, sorry. We're talking about -4. 4 is also a solution. But we were talking about -4. So 4 is way over here. So it is also part of the solution, but the question was asking about -4. All right, so then we want to look at this. We have 3.9. So we want to put a 0 over here. We've got a 4 right here. And we have a -4 right over here. And 3.9 is right about here, so 3.9. So this says it's greater than 3.9. So we use a test point of 0. 0 greater than 3.9? No. So we put a fence around 3.9 and we shade the other direction. So on this one, no. -4 is not a solution. All right, so let's look at this one. So we have -4 and we have 0. Okay, so this one says is y less than y is less than -4. Okay, so is 0 less than -4? No, it's greater than -4. So 0 is not part of the solution. So we're going to put a open point around 4, use it as a barrier, and then we're going to shade this way. So we're trying to determine is -4 a solution, but -4 has a barrier around it. It can't be -4. So we say no, -4 is not a solution. All right, let's determine if 2 1/3 is a solution of these. So let's graph a few. So I have, I'm working with -2 1/3. So I have -2 and -2 1/3 just on this side. And then we have 0 and we have 2. So this is x is greater than 2. So is 0 greater than 2? No, 0 is less than 2. So that means we're going to have an open point at 2 because it's not equal to 2. And we're going to shade this way. So is -2 1/3 a solution of this? Well, no, it is not. So let's do this number line. So I have -2 here. I have 0 here. This one's x is less than -2. Is 0 less than -2? No, 0 is not less than -2. And if I remember that I have -2 1/3 right here on that side of 2. So I'm going to put a fence around the 2 with an open point. And since 0 is not a solution, I'm shading this direction. And it also is the same direction as that inequality. So now we look, is negative 2 and 1/3 a solution? Yes, it is included. So negative 2 and 1/3 is a solution. All right, let's do this one. We have x and this is x is greater than negative 3. So let's put a negative 3 here. And let's put in a negative 2 here. And we know negative 2 and 1/3 right there. And then we have 0. All right, we can even put a negative 1 in there just to put in a little more effort on my number line, eh? Okay, so we're going to put an open point around negative 3. Then we're going to ask a few questions. So is 0 greater than negative 3? Yes, it is. So we're shading this direction. All right, so what that gives me is that negative 2 and 1/3 is a solution to this. So yes, negative 2 and 1/3 is a solution. All right. So let's move on to another one. So as if we haven't been graphing, but now they want us to graph for real. So there we go. And sadly, I'm still going to do really quick graphs. So remember, your teachers will want a better number line than what I'm showing you. So please put in more effort into your number line. Okay, so I'm just going to give you the gist of how to do this. The gist means just a brief explanation of how to do this. All right, so then we have negative 4, we have 0, and let's just put a 4 over here just to make it nice and balanced. So we have x is greater than negative 4, so we use the test point of 0. Is 0 greater than negative 4? Yes. So that means what I'm going to do is put an open point around negative 4 because there's no equal bar there. And then I'm going to shade this direction because 0 was a solution to that inequality. All right, so this, we have 8. So we're going to put a 0 here and an 8 over here. And we have x is greater than or equal to 8. Is 0 greater than or equal to 8? No. So 0 is less than negative 8. So because of the equal bar, we now get to use a solid point because 8 is part of the solution. So since 0 is not part of the solution, we are going to shade this direction. All right. So let's look at this one. We have negative 2. So we definitely want to have a negative 2 on our graph, a 0 and a 2. All right, so it says x is less than negative 2. Is 0 less than negative 2? No, 0 is greater than negative 2. So we don't have an equal bar right under here. So we have an open point, and then we're going to shade this direction. And see how the inequalities are pointing the same way when you have x's on the left side? Isn't that interesting? All right, so let's go ahead here, or your variable. It doesn't matter if it's an x, it could just be a variable on that left side. Then it points the same direction. All right, so let's go ahead and put a 0 here, a 10 here. So is 0 less than or equal to 10? Why, yes, it is. So that means we're shading towards 0. So we also have an equal bar here. So 10 will be included with our inequality solution. And then we are going to shade this direction. All right, let's talk about Mars. Okay, the average temperature on the planet Mars is usually below -10 degrees Celsius. That is very cold. So let's write an inequality. Well, first we have to say what our variable is going to mean. So we should use a T since we're talking about temperature. So we're going to write T, and it says below -10 degrees, so that below is less than -10 degrees Celsius. So that's what we would say. All right, so let's graph this inequality. So it doesn't say it is 10 degrees Celsius, although I imagine it probably could equal 10 degrees Celsius, but it says it's usually below. Do you know that Lake Tahoe sometimes is below -10 degrees Celsius? Yeah, that's pretty cold, but we have those kind of temperatures here, but Mars gets a lot colder than Earth. All right, so let's go ahead and put 0 on here. And -10 degrees Celsius. All right, so we don't have it equaling 10 degrees Celsius, so we're going to write an open point around 10 degrees Celsius, and it's going to be below 10 degrees Celsius. So if this was included, it would have said it's usually -10 degrees Celsius or below. Okay, so that would have put that equal bar there. But because it doesn't have that, it's just below 10 degrees Celsius. All right, let's learn how to interpret some words. Okay, so for each of these situations, we're going to make a graph. So we have Jeremy has at least $12. So at least means he has $12. Can he have $11? Is that at least $12? No. Can he have $13? Yes. So at least means he has $12. So at least eat $12 or more. That's what at least means. So that means that when we draw the number line, we can put a 0 over here and a 12 right here. So that means Jeremy has $12 at least, or he has more than $12. So there you go. All right, Tom has at most 50 stamps. Oh, we have to write the situation too. So since this is Jeremy and we have money we're talking about, we probably should define our variables that we're going to use. So M equals money. So if we're going to write this out, we're going to say M is greater than or equal to $12. Okay. Don't want to miss answering the question to its fullest, do we? All right. So if we have Tom has at most 50 stamps. So does Tom have 51 stamps? No, because at most is 50. Does Tom have 49 stamps? Yes. All right, so now let's define our variable. So S will be stamps. All right, so our equation then for this will be S is less than or equal to 50. I have a question for you. Can we have less than 0 stamps? Nope. So we're going to have to add a complex, another condition. So we also know that the stamps have to be greater than or equal to 0. Okay. So right now, I'm not going to show you the tough way to do that. Well, maybe I will since I mentioned. But those are two different inequalities there that I wrote, but they can be written as one inequality. So I will show you how to do that, just so you're a ninja. All right, so we have 0 here, and we have 50 here. Okay, so we know that Tom can have 50 stamps, and we know that Tom can have no less than 0 stamps, because you can't have negative stamps. So this would be the graph. Okay, it's still an infinite number of solutions, but it's between 0 and 50. So the sophisticated, the fancy way to write this is 0 is less than or equal to S is less than or equal to 50.
All NHS members who have not put in their order for in and out, please come to the front office. Thank you.
All right, so now if we go ahead and draw this one, we're going to have Aisha can run no faster than 8 kilometers per hour. So can Aisha run 8 kilometers per hour? Yes. Can Aisha run 9 kilometers per hour? No faster than 8. No. Can she run 7 kilometers per hour? Yes. Okay, so now so we know that she can run. So if we write run or speed, let's have speed again. So speed is going to be S. So we know that her speed has to be less than or equal to 8 kilometers per hour. Can she go negative kilometers per hour? No. So we have to restrict S has to be greater than or equal to 0 kilometers per hour. So Aisha can't go less than 0 kilometers per hour. That's not moving. Okay. So we again have a 0 here, and we go up to 8 here. So she can run 8 kilometers per hour, but she can run no slower than 0 kilometers per hour, which is not moving. So then we're going to shade this region right here. Okay, and the fancy way to write this would be 0 is less than or equal to S is less than or equal to 8 kilometers per hour. And this was 50 stamps, by the way. All right, so there you have it. Now you should be an expert at inequalities. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.